Today on BMI Redefined with Jen and Mo, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Emelia Osborn. She is a high school teacher here in the St. Louis area, and we are excited to talk with her about her experiences with the online teaching and all that's going on in the world right now. Welcome, Emilia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yay, thank you for coming.
Cool. Well, we're excited you're here, and we just kind of wanted to talk with you about what's going on in your life these days. Teaching students online, like 100% online, and kind of what the typical day looks like, and just some messages that you'd like to share with our listeners.
So our school, we have different schedules. We have an A day where the kids see every single teacher, and then we have block days, B day, C day. And right now we're supposed to be operating on an A day schedule. So if you are having Zoom meetings, you meet that way. No teacher overlaps with another teacher and every kid can make it. But the expectation is you record every video, every session, every lesson, because we know that some kids, their parents are essential workers and they have younger siblings and they're taking care of them. Some of the kids are still working, using the time to pick up more hours. Some of the kids are frantically trying to get ready for new AP tests, and because they cut the curriculum and they're pushing them forward, the dates when they're taking them. So we're trying to do things asynchronously as possible. But I personally am trying to keep a regular schedule and see all my classes every day because I want the kids to have some routine. All of our lives are kind of falling out from beneath us. So as much as I give the kids a schedule, I'm trying to keep to it. So I wake up and I walk my dog and I do a yoga class, and then I have first hour, and then I do a spin class, and then I have my office hours, and then I teach, and I get a whole hour for lunch, which we normally don't get.
Nice.
And then I just teach the rest of the day, and I have office hours until 4, and then I walk my dog again.
And the best part of this whole thing is that you can go to the bathroom anytime you want to.
I'm going to be honest. I go to the bathroom at work whenever I want anyway. I trust my kids. I know most teachers don't. There's been a couple times I've gotten like halfway down the hallway and I heard a yell and I ran back.
Right.
I'm very special that my kids are great enough that I get to go to the bathroom.
Good. The remote teaching is about engaging the students, and, they can engage with you, but it's got to be hard for them too, because some of their living situations are not ideal. And so putting all of this new at-home school learning into their environment must be difficult for some.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the kids are having a lot of anxiety just about life in general right now. And going to school is a break from the stresses of their home life. And they get to experience this completely separate thing. And now all of a sudden those two worlds are combining and they really don't even get to leave their house. Mm-hmm. But they're 14 or 15 and they can't drive or they don't have a car. I imagine that's a lot harder for them.
Well, and you and I were talking about kind of the relationships, the parents and the children / the students, and how that interactiveness can be very different than it would be on a regular school year basis, like the before school, after school versus the all day. And something that you mentioned was kind of the need for a schedule. Do you want to expound on that a little bit?
Yeah, so I think that the kids, teenagers, we forget that they're essentially toddlers in an adult body. Their frontal lobes are like mush. They don't have the decision-making ability that we often credit them with. And they are capable, but a lot of them are still maturing and still finding themselves in a lot of ways that a schedule really suits them. And we talk a lot about kids with special needs needing a schedule and needing some sort of like strict thing to follow to help them. But I think that every student benefits from having structure, and that in a lot of ways has been taken away from them right now, especially with this, in some ways, this push of letting the kids do as much as they can on their own in their own time is great for that intrinsically motivated student. But for our kids that school is fun for them or they enjoy school because this is the time that they get to have interactions with people, like their teachers telling them they're doing a good job or their teacher checking in with them, maybe mom and dad can't check in with them during the day because of their work, or maybe they don't have that relationship with their parents. But this is when they get a lot of closeness. Like I have during our flex time in the day where kids can do whatever they want, I have a lot of kids that just come into my room just to be with each other or just to be with me, or they just come in and like sit down next to my desk, even with my sign that says like students don't cross this line, this is my personal space. Like they pull a chair right up to that line to talk to me about what's going on in their life, and kids aren't getting that right now. So I think it puts a lot of strain. If I was from a teacher point of view, I miss that. I miss getting to have private conversations with my kids, because in a Zoom meeting, I want to check in, but I can't because there's 15 other people there. An email only goes so far. You can't tell tone over an email. It's not quick, it's back and forth. And I think parents are being asked to do a lot of stuff that they've probably never had to do before. You guys don't necessarily have the same relationship with your children that I do. And they might tell me stuff that I turn around and tell the counselor, hey, you should check in with this kid, or call home and say, the student had a really hard day, just giving you a heads up. And now all of a sudden you guys are expected to, as parents, to have this bond that's similar to what I have, but we have a completely different relationship. So it seems like a lot.
Yeah. And it's a lot. I taught, up until 2 years ago, I taught kindergarten through 8th grade music.
Oh.
And so I understand that relationship, and the kids coming into your classroom and saying, hey, can I sit down and talk to you for a minute? Sure. What's going on? Just that little interaction means so much to the kids, because it's someone who's not in their world. It's someone who's in their world, of course, but who's an outsider, and that they can talk to. And when they don't have that outlet, more anxiety can build up and depression. And that's what I really worry about with these kids, that some of them might snap in this environment.
Well, I think the ones that will snap will surprise you, because our introverts are kids that were trained, we're told over and over again, watch for kids that have big changes in their personality, look for kids that are, they go from, even if they're an introvert and suddenly they're really withdrawn, like being an introvert doesn't mean you're depressed. It just means all of a sudden we're flipped, and we're looking at these kids that have aggressive attention-seeking behaviors that they're getting no attention. Maybe the way that they get attention is they're a star athlete. They don't have a lot of friends outside of a sport, and they're a star spring athlete. They're on the Lancers page. They're acknowledged by principals. They're put on our Twitter. They're in a school. Our school is so great about, the athletic director sends out an email with the kids that scored in games and kids that hit home runs. And it's a great way for teachers to be like, hey, I saw that you guys kicked butt last night. And that kid gets all this affirmation. They're not getting any of that right now. Yeah. And it's a kid who maybe they're in every single club. Maybe they're in all these extracurriculars. They keep themselves so busy, and all of that has fallen away. And maybe they're just an extrovert. Maybe they're using it to cope with something else. Those are the kids that I'm worried about. Because our introverted kids are truly introverted, not our depressed kids, but our truly introverted kids. They're fine at home. They're happy.
Yeah. Oh, this is probably like their dream, right?
And for some kids, maybe your anxiety, maybe you're really anxious in social situations, but you're not necessarily anxious about school. So this works well for you, because you get to be a good student. You get to be a strong student without the worry of getting called on in class, without the worry of, where do I sit at lunch? Who do I talk to? All of that's taken away for you. You get to just be your best self. But these introverted kids without depression, that we often kind of gloss over because we're so worried about the depressed kids, about the anxious kids, about the kids that are on suicide prevention plans, they're going to be okay. Those kids that are extroverted, hiding depression and anxiety by being so extroverted, those are the ones as teachers we're really looking out for right now.
So in like a Zoom classroom meeting, you would really be kind of watching the faces and seeing how, if they're participating in discussions, that kind of thing. Are you seeing a difference in level of participation between students when they're in a bricks and mortar classroom versus Zoom online?
Oh yes. I an activity where I unmute all the participants. You can actively choose to be muted or unmuted. If I click as the manager, as the meeting host, I click unmute all. You
Okay.
can decline that. And I have kids who are declining to be unmuted. They don't want to participate. They're there because they know I'll send an email to their parents that says they didn't attend their Latin class, but they're just there to not get in trouble with their parent and to get the answers. They don't want to participate. Whereas that student in class, I might rely on them because they're a source of knowledge for their peers.
Yeah.
And can turn and say, student A, like, what do you think the answer is? And even if they're wrong, I can use that to say, okay, well, let's think about how someone got to this answer and use it as a learning opportunity. And that's taking that resource away from me as a teacher by muting themselves, but they're also taking it away from their peers. But for the most part, the kids who are there, who come to the optional meetings, are there because they want to be there.
Mhm. So following up on that, you mentioned the word optional. So these optional meetings, are there's like during your office hours, or there are certain times during the day, or maybe during the flex time or something that they have this option, but are there any demands? Like, do they have to be in class? Is their role taken, that kind of thing? Or is it their choice?
It's completely their choice. We have been told we can't take attendance, which I understand because, like we said before, your home situation might make it that you're watching your little sister, or maybe you're still working, and we can't expect the kids to be there, which is why we're posting so much of recorded lessons. I know some AP teachers are really requiring it, but it's all optional, which boils down to the kids who are intrinsically and extrinsically motivated to be in school, and what are parents doing to support the kids learning. From my point of view, it seems like a lot of times parents make sure their kid gets to school, and then if I email them or reach out to them, I get a lot of support. But there usually needs to be that first, I reach out and say, this is an issue I'm having, can you help me? And then it's immediate. The community that I'm in for school has amazing parents, but it's now the parents kind of have to be a little bit more on top of it than they were before. And they're also having to like work from home, which I'm sure not everybody wants to do every day. And now you're on top of your kid all the time, which usually you go to work and you do your thing, and your kids at school and they're doing their thing, and all. It's just the world's colliding seems to be the hardest transition right now. All the teachers are here because we love our subjects, certainly, but more than that, we love the kids. Everybody who's a teacher enjoys the benefits of being with their kids. I call it bucket filling. Like every day, everyone starts with an amount of love they can give. And maybe that's like a barrel sized bucket. Maybe that's a teaspoon, but everybody's got a different size bucket. And then everybody has a bucket that's empty every day that, once again, could be different sizes, that you need to fill with love from other people to feel good about yourself. And some people don't need a lot, but teachers have just the same way that we were talking about the students needing to have that reassurance from their teachers and those interactions with teachers. The teachers need that from the kids too. So even those kids that are in rural situations that don't have Wi-Fi, their teachers are doing everything they can to feel connected to kids, because that's the benefit of being a teacher, is how loved and special your kids can make you feel. My heart goes out for those kids that are in the situations without Wi-Fi and they have to do these packets and be so intrinsically motivated, or their parents have to be helping. And I'm sure that's so hard, but you have to trust that their teachers are doing everything they possibly can, because there's no other reason that you would be a teacher besides wanting to help children.
Right. I want you to be my teacher.
No, you don't.
Oh, she's awesome teacher. Yes.
No, and I think I should go back and maybe say that you know, yeah, absolutely, those teachers are doing everything. I'm just, you know, from the student point of view, I hope that they realize that their teachers are work hard to put those packets together, and they're working hard every day for them to learn so that they don't miss part of their year, you know, by being home. So I don't know. That's, yeah, it's tough
Yeah.
for
And the new
everybody.
order that just went out that from superintendents that we're not going, the buildings are going to stay closed for the 2020 semester, spring semester. I'm sure that just for a lot of kids, that was heartbreaking for them.
Well, I was thinking about the juniors and the seniors and, you know, senior year, junior, senior prom, those kind of events going on. Just thinking at the high school, like the different, you know, athletic events and all that kind of thing that would be going on right now. And they're having to get a different mindset. I mean, kind of transform that in their heads and turn it on its side to say, okay, how, like you were saying before, Amelia, how are we going to channel, you know, our feelings, our emotions, our skills, our abilities, everything that we were going to be doing at the end of the spring semester. And then even in preparation, you were mentioning the other day, Amelia, about people preparing for college and, you know, building resumes and that kind of thing. What kind of message would you like to give along that line?
I think universities, colleges, people that are scouting you for sports, all of them are in the same situation, and they will look at your application, they will look at your resume, they will look at your sports reel with a kind and understanding heart. Nobody is immune to this current situation, and everyone's feeling it in their own way. And the world will take care of you some way. When it comes to the prom and all those things that they're missing, I'm sorry guys that you're gonna miss prom. It stinks. I had so much fun at prom. I had a great time, and I'm really sorry that they're not going to get to experience that. But I really think that schools are going to do everything they can to find new ways to help the kids have those experiences. And at least when if you're a senior this year and you're missing prom, at least everybody missed prom. You guys are all going to go your freshman year and be in your dorms, and you can all have that shared experience. The world is going to look out for each other. If there's one benefit, one silver lining to this current situation, it's that people are being kinder to each other. People are so excited. Even just going to the vet this morning when that technician came out to my car to pick up my dog, I was like, oh, hello, human. You know, it's so nice to see somebody and talk to them.
Yeah.
I think the world will take that into consideration. So stay strong to those kids that are feeling it, and know you're not going to be penalized for this situation.
Amelia, there was a question you and I talked about the other day because you've mentioned this book that you're currently reading by Malcolm Gladwell entitled Blink. Yes, and how it kind of deals with, what did you say, social conditioning and perceptions and perspectives, and how this is kind of what we're talking about. What kind of insights have you gleaned from Malcolm's work so far?
I just finished the book last night. If you've never read it, it's 100% worth reading. I want to get into Talking with Strangers next, his most recent. But he actually wrote the version that I got. He has come back and done an additional chapter about like reflecting on the book and what it meant to people. And this, one of the things he writes about is he didn't mean for the book to have a social agenda. He just meant to share this finding about believing in your gut in some situations and trusting your own experiences to kind of lead you, and times where that doesn't necessarily work. So our perceptions of people might be skewed based on where we grew up or things that we listen to in our community be said. You know, if you're somebody who makes racial jokes or laughs at racial jokes or says racial slurs, you're going to end up being more okay with those kind of things being said. Changes your perception of things. So like maybe we need to skew away from that. But it was very interesting to read him looking back on his work saying, well, there is a social agenda. I meant for people to start questioning our perceptions, our built-in perceptions, these things that are not great in our society. And one of the things he talked about was a police shooting many years ago where a man was reaching for his wallet, but when he pulled his wallet out of his pocket, a police officer just saw a black bulge coming out and thought it was a gun. And the interaction took, in his book, he said about 6 seconds for this man to die because he was reaching for a wallet, and that the police officers technically, the life or death situation, something took over them. And it was just a very interesting, I've never thought about a wallet being mistaken for a gun or being in a situation where that might happen to me.
Right.
Just reading Malcolm Gladwell really changed the way that I want to approach life when I get to interact with other people again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his works can do that.
In a positive way of like letting your natural instincts as an expert in your field guide you. I think about with students of my instincts that I've had of times where maybe the kid doesn't seem off to someone who doesn't know them, but to someone who because I have the same kids every year. I'm lucky enough that if you're in Latin 3, I had you Latin 1, Latin 2, Latin 3, which means I saw you every single day for 2 full school years, and now semester and a half. And it was so hard to know that the student was going through something so traumatizing, but that my gut instinct might have helped this child. It makes it worth it. It's heavy to have to know that your student is suicidal or is dealing with some body issues or something terrible that you wish you could make that better for them. But to know that my instinct led me to help a child, that's kind of what Malcolm Gladwell was talking about, of your experiences. They can be beneficial. They don't have to be negative. Trusting your gut, that immediate instinct to reach out to a counselor is not necessarily wrong.
Oh, that's good. And thank you, Emilia, for using that gut instinct and helping these students. That's totally invaluable. Very, very amazing.
Thank you for listening to me ramble. I appreciate it.
No, it's great. It's great. And thank you so much for teaching out there and teaching our kids.
There's nowhere else I'd rather be right now. Between my dog, my stationary bike at home, and my meetings with my kids. I mean, my quarantine life is not horrible. My bucket is still being filled by this. That's good. That's good. And they make fun of me about that bucket comment. They'll like leave a note on my desk and they'll write something that's like, I hope this fills your bucket. And I know that, but it does. I love it. I have a whiteboard or a little bulletin board that's filled with notes that kids have written me and coworkers have written me. And I'm glad I kept them, because right now, on days where maybe no one came to an optional Zoom meeting, I can open up that folder, because when I cleaned out my classroom, I took all that stuff with me. And to read a note that a kid wrote you, just not because it was a holiday, not because it was the end of the year, just because they left a note on your desk to say, thanks for anything, thanks. And it's even better when it comes with candy, but sometimes just thing that they have to say that affirms that they appreciate what I'm doing, because I appreciate them being there, and I'm still getting my bucket filled, and that's what matters.
Great.
That's so cool. Well, you definitely helped fill our bucket today, Emilia. Definitely.
Yes.
This has been great.
Thank you so much.
No problem.